Rain and boredom nearly killed your ancestors. And somehow, that's also the reason you exist. Picture this: no food in 2 days. You've tracked the herd, mapped the route, you're ready. Then the sky opens up. Not a drizzle, a relentless, days-long downpour. No tracking, no hunting, no walking on slick rock with bare feet. Because out here a twisted ankle is a death sentence. The river's rising. The fire's struggling. You're not bored. You're trapped, and trapped meant something different 50,000 years ago than it does now. When it rains today, you grab a blanket and open Netflix. Cozy, sleepy even. But that exact same sound, the one lulling you to sleep, could have killed an ancient human 3 separate ways before it even let up. And the third one is the one nobody expects. Start with the obvious one: cold. A wet body loses heat up to 25 times faster than a dry one. No clothes, no waterproof shelter, and temperatures dropping into the 40s at night, which happened even in parts of Africa at higher elevation, and you're in hypothermia range within hours. Second, flooding. Caves near rivers flooded fast, and archaeologists have found thick sediment layers inside occupied caves, the kind that mark the last time anyone ever lived there. And third, the one that should genuinely unsettle you: predators. Rain pushed animals into shelter too, sometimes the same shelter. There are South African cave sites where human and big cat remains turn up in the same layer, some human skulls punctured in a pattern that matches leopard teeth exactly. So rain didn't just make life miserable. It compressed the entire ecosystem into the same small dry spaces at once. And in the middle of that, one job outranked everything: don't let the fire die. Here's why that was so nerve-wracking. We have evidence of controlled fire use going back 400,000 years, possibly a million, at Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. But controlling an existing fire and creating one from nothing are completely different skills. And for most of prehistory, a lot of people probably couldn't do the second one. If your fire went out in the rain, that could just be it. So groups carried embers wrapped in green leaves or packed inside tinder fungus, a natural material that could smolder for hours, basically a biological lighter. We know this wasn't speculation, because when Otzi the Iceman turned up 5,300 years frozen in the Alps, he had a full fire-starting kit on his belt: tinder fungus, flint, pyrite, backup tinder. Even 5,000 years ago, losing your fire was a big enough deal that people carried dedicated gear against it. So when the rain hit, priority one wasn't shelter. It was keeping that flame alive, moved deeper into the cave, shielded with hides, fed with dry inner wood from split logs or birch bark, which contains a compound called betulin that burns even when wet. Someone's entire day might have just been sitting there, feeding it. Because that fire wasn't just warmth. It was light, safety, cooked food, and the only reason the group functioned as a group at all. Fine, fire's handled, you're dry, but you still can't leave. So what do you actually do with days of enforced stillness? You make things. And the record on this is loud. Caves are packed with stone tool debris concentrated in exactly the spots where someone would have sat by firelight for hours. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, there's a 100,000-year-old ochre workshop, abalone shells as mixing bowls, ground pigment, bone tools for application. That's not survival. That's a production line. Bone needles start showing up around 61,000 years ago, and you don't make something that delicate while running from anything. You make it when you've got nowhere to be. And then it gets stranger. At Abri du Marais in France, archaeologists found a scrap of twisted plant fiber string over 40,000 years old, the oldest direct evidence of cordage we have. At Hohlfels in Germany, a 35,000-year-old ivory tool carved with 4 holes and spiral grooves, built specifically to twist fiber into rope. Someone sat down and engineered a rope-making machine. Rope is slow, repetitive, monotonous, which makes it the perfect bad weather task. And rope is a quiet piece of technology that changed everything downstream of it: shelters, snares, hafted tools. Odds are good it was invented by someone with absolutely nothing else to do. People weren't just tooling up, either. They were nesting. At Sabudu Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found actual bedding from 77,000 years ago, layered sedges and rushes topped with Cape laurel leaves, a natural insect repellent, periodically burned and replaced to stay clean. That's not survival. That's someone doing pest control 77,000 years ago. But here's where this stops being about practicality entirely. Because next came the art. The paintings in Chauvet Cave in southern France are roughly 36,000 years old. lions, horses, rhinos, drawn mid-stride with tensed muscle and turning heads by people who'd clearly studied these animals for thousands of hours before recreating them from memory. Chauvet isn't unique either. Cave art in Sulawesi, Indonesia dates back at least 45,000 years, the oldest figurative art known anywhere. And the detail that should stop you, none of it is near the entrance, where you'd actually shelter. It's deep, sometimes hundreds of meters in, through passages you'd have to crawl through, reached by carrying a fat lamp into total darkness. Nobody does that on a good day. You do that when the rain's been falling for 48 hours. You've already sharpened every tool you own, and the only direction left to go is down into the dark to make something. We can't prove cave art was a rainy day activity, but the timing lines up suspiciously well. The biggest creative leap in prehistory, happening in exactly the places people were stuck the longest. And that points to something bigger than art. It points to where culture itself came from. Picture 15 to 30 people packed into a cave for days. What do? They talk. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner compared daytime and nighttime conversations among the Ju/Hoansi in the Kalahari. Daytime talk was practical, land, resources, disputes. But at night, by the fire, over 80% of conversation shifted to stories, songs, ceremony. The firelight itself changed what people were willing to say. The campfire was the original social network, and what got shared there was survival data, where water holds out, which plants are safe, where the good flint is. Not gossip, transmission. And underneath that, myth. Every culture on Earth has a rain story, and someone invented the first one, almost certainly while sitting inside the exact situation it was trying to explain. The oldest oral traditions ever verified against real geological events are Australian Aboriginal stories describing sea level change from roughly 7,000 years ago. Accurate details, carried for 7 millennia by nothing but people repeating them to each other. That kind of memory doesn't happen by accident. It takes a group with an enormous amount of enforced togetherness. So those rainy days weren't dead time. They were the transmission line, where the old taught the young, where the group's whole memory got refreshed. Which is what makes the ending genuinely unfair. Rain wasn't only the threat. It was also, quietly, one of the best things that could happen. After it stopped, soft ground meant perfect, deep tracking. Rock depressions collected clean drinking water. Some of them deliberately deepened to hold more. Mushrooms and tubers surged. Insects surfaced. And termites, protein-dense and needing zero tools, swarm en masse right after rain across tropical Africa. Chimpanzees still gorge on them today, and early humans almost certainly did the same, at scale. So what did ancient humans actually do when it rained for days on end? Everything that mattered. They kept the fire breathing, built the tools for the next hunt, sewed the clothes that would carry them through winter, twisted the rope holding their shelters together, ground the pigment for the animals painted deep in the dark, told the stories that outlived them by thousands of years. And when the rain finally broke, they stepped outside on a soft ground covered in perfect tracks and got back to work. Rain didn't slow them down. It's the reason they were ready. Every tool, every stitch of clothing, every story, every painting on a cave wall, all of it traces back to downtime. To the hours they were forced to sit still with nothing to do but think. Boredom, the way you experience it, didn't exist for them. When your survival hinges on what you build in the next few hours, you don't get bored. You get inventive. And that, more than the hunting, might be the actual reason you're here at all.